Your marriage can't be like dinner at Outback Steakhouse. No rules. There has to be some nevers in a relationship. Thoughts you never allow, things you never say, and things you never do. And today we're going to talk about nevers you should incorporate in your marriage or relationship. I want to welcome you to the Life and Times Media channel, where we want to share our experiences with you. We want to encourage you and teach you some skills and hopefully bring value, wisdom, and knowledge to you, the viewers, so you don't have to make mistakes or guess about how to win more often in life. Leave a comment below and let us know the number one piece of marriage advice you ever received. And if you stay around till the end, I'll let you know what advice Terry and I got on our wedding day that we really still utilize to this day. Thanks for joining us here on Life and Times with Mike and Terry Day. We're going to talk about the things in a relationship, the nevers, things that you just never do. We have incorporated most of these in our life over the years, and they've really brought some benefit to our marriage, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
One thing we wanted to talk about up front was the fact that there's not just a few things that are nevers, and this is not a comprehensive list. This is just some things that we've incorporated in our life over the years that have really been beneficial to us and helped us.
Right. It's sometimes things that I would think would be apparent, but in doing a lot of marriage counseling, it's not. But we're sharing some things that we've incorporated into our life, things that we've learned the hard way, hence the thing that we were saying earlier about helping you to maybe bypass some of those growing pains. Although growing pains are part of life.
Yeah, and you're talking about the things that get involved in marriage that would seem to be, what's the word?
Obvious?
Obvious, yeah. That sometimes common sense is not so common.
That's right.
So the first one we want to bring up is just how you talk to one another and how you communicate. And in this day and time, I mean, my goodness, phones, email, texting, all those things, those can be a not so good thing in communication.
They're rather impersonal.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, if it's important, it needs to be personal.
Yeah, so it's the point is never discuss really important things or disagreements by text, email, or phone calls. If you're people can so misunderstand. They can misunderstand heart and intent. They can misunderstand tonality, all the different things that come along in communication, that if you're sitting there face to face, and particularly about something that's very important to the relationship, it's something that you really don't want to do. So that's the first one. Don't text, don't email or phone call on really important items unless you have to.
Right. It's, we've talked earlier in another video about communication and how important it is. And I think in terms of not only regarding disagreements, arguments, or whatever, difference of opinion, but also this is a big one, because what are some of the two most common things that cause problems in a marriage is sex and money. And I think in terms of money, also, communicating that you need to have communication when you're making purchases. And especially like for us, it's basically bigger purchases, $100 or more. I'm going to talk to Mike, and same with me. Mike's going to give me a call and say, hey, what do you think of this?
We both do that, and it's just one of those things that it's just common courtesy. I mean, it's having the love, care, and concern for another, that you're going to involve them in the decisions that you're making.
Right.
There's just so many things. I mean, we talked about this as a general overview. Fight fair.
Oh my goodness.
Fight fair.
When you first have a relationship, you're courting each other, dating each other. We talked about all those questions to ask and get to know each other. One of the things that we heard a pastor say, you need to have seen that person angry.
Yeah.
Do they throw things when they're angry?
Do they hit people?
Do they hit people? And we kind of laugh about that, but it's not a laughing matter. Some of you may not know this, but I was married before, and that was an abusive marriage. So you just never want to lay hands. Here's another never. You never lay hands on each other in anger. Never. You don't push or pinch or slap or hit or throw things.
That's what she just did. She just pushed me and pinched me.
Punch a door. These are that's stuff in anger. And one time, well, like I said, I was in an abusive marriage. When that man, punched a hole in the door, I knew really what he meant is he wanted to punch me and hurt me. But the other thing, punching brings up something.
That's just something we've
punching
never
under the
allowed in our
belt.
life either. Yeah, that's right.
Punching, what did I say?
It's either a gut punch or below the belt.
Oh, I kind of combined those. No, but seriously, fight fair. No name calling. You so-and-so. No personal attacks like, you're ugly and fat and I never did like you. That's
real personal.
that space between your teeth has always bothered me.
I mean, and a couple of nevers that we included in this is, that you just never use the word "you always do that" or "you never do this." I mean, it's like always and never are tough words because they're usually not true.
Them thars fighting words.
That's right, they are. They're fighting words. Yeah. Next one. Never use divorce or leaving as a threat.
Oh.
And that's just we have just incorporated that from day one. It's not a threat. It's not something that we bring up or use as a tool against one another. And I promise you, that's a hammer that you don't want to pull out because once you pull it out, it's hard to put it back.
It's another low blow.
Yeah, absolutely, another low blow. Yep, can't do that. Next one. Never leave each other's presence without saying "I love you" and "goodbye." I mean, we try to do that every single day.
Isn't that sweet?
I mean, we try to make sure that on the way out the door that we even if it's just a very short second, we stop and we pray and we say "I love you" and we say goodbye.
There's a scripture in the Word that talks about that a foolish woman plucks down her own house, and so. I wanted our marriage to be successful. I wanted my husband to come home, wanting to come home to his wife and family. So I wanted to greet him at the door with pleasantness, a smile. How about, hey, good to see you. I missed you. And it was genuine.
And it's not rote when we're leaving either. It's not a rote thing that we just do. I mean, it really is. It's like, hey, goodbye. I'll see you this evening. I love you. And
a lot of times we're praying as he's leaving. We take a minute to pray, and I don't know. It just kind of sets a sweet tone.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? You never know what life's going to throw at you from a standpoint. I don't know what the next 24 hours brings, and I want to make sure that I told her I love her and I told her goodbye. It's one of those things that. I may get teary-eyed here, so forgive me. But
don't do that to me.
We recently lost our goddaughter in a car accident, and I remember the last time that I saw her that I hugged her like 3 times and said goodbye. On a space of about 10 or 15 minutes, she was getting ready to go to the airport, and I was able to hug on her and love on her and say, hey, we love you and we'll see you, and. I wish I'd have done it 4 times. I wish I'd have done it 5 times. But it's just one of those things you never know what life's going to throw at you. And then just a few short months later, she was killed in an automobile accident. And it's really been one of those things for us that really hit home hard. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to look back on those things and wish you'd done things differently. So say goodbye and say "I love you" whenever you part.
Yes. And hugs are sweet.
Yep, that's right. Hugs are good. We like those.
We were talking earlier about never laying hands on each other in anger, but the other side of that is laying hands on for pleasure. That's that contact with one another. I'll tell you what, touch is healing. And
or touch can be disconcerting too if it comes from an angry person.
Well, that's why it's real important never to do that.
Very important. Yep.
Yeah. Also being loyal. I say never be disloyal to your husband. Why did you get married if you weren't best friends and you don't respect each other and you don't love each other? You should never have gotten married.
And that disloyalty, I mean, it comes down from so many couples. They share way too much information with their friends. You don't want to talk your spouse down. You don't want to be disloyal in your conversation. You don't want to take your grievances about life or situations or whatever to somebody else. I mean, it's really, really very important that I guess there might be one or two things every now and again, but generally speaking, saying negative things about your spouse and talking your spouse down.
We're talking everyday life.
Right. Yeah.
Now we realize that there are times when there's just differences that need some help, and you go for counseling. We're not talking about that. We're saying we're setting up.
Sowing discord's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, just making it so that you're talking about every bad point he's got. You know what? He leaves his shoes laying around, or she does this, or he does. Just all of those types of things. Just whining and complaining. And we've had a saying, and we heard a long time ago. You know what? Complaining's demon food.
Oh,
that's
a good one.
Yeah, don't whine and complain, and particularly don't do it to other people about your spouse.
And really, you're the closest with your husband and wife,
Yeah.
and you say things in confidence, totally believing that your heart doth safely trust in him or her. And when something comes up in a fight, you drudge up the past. Not good. But especially if something comes out in public, you're at a dinner party, and your wife's friend says, "Oh yeah, Mike leaves his shoes all over the place." Well, that just feels disloyal. It feels like a betrayal.
Embarrassing someone in public like that. You don't expect it coming, and it is that gut punch again in a different way. You just don't want to use. I mean, you were talking about the past and stuff, dredging that kind of stuff up. It just really, you don't want to use the past to gain an advantage in a disagreement. To say, "Well, do you remember when you used to do that?" It's just not a good thing to incorporate into the disagreements. Disagreements need to be done I always say, in a business-like manner. You need to sit down and talk things out with a bit of reserve. Because you don't want things to get out of hand, and you don't want to talk disparagingly, and you don't want to say mean things, because it's awful hard to take them back.
It is.
Once they come out, man, it's hard to get them back, particularly if you've said something very hurtful to someone that you love.
And let's just talk about forgiveness. Sometimes we are going to make mistakes, and we are going to say something that hurts the person that we love the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're just going to need to forgive. Be quick to forgive. Mike and I have truly lived our marriage where I can only think of, and I'm guessing, 5 times in all of our marriage, coming up on 33 years, that we've stayed mad at each other more than an hour. Usually it's 5 minutes or less.
Neither of us like being mad at one another.
No.
It's just one of those things.
And that's something you cultivate, everybody. You just cultivate that.
That's a decision. It's not the word is something special. It's just that's what we've decided to do in our life. So you got any other nevers you want to talk about?
One more.
Okay, what you got?
Well, I know we discussed how we were going to finish this video, so I'm not going there. But never let your joy go out of your marriage. I have a really funny story. Our youngest son, Joel, was probably, I think he was 9 or 10, and we had planned a party for all his buddies
birthday,
to go
wasn't
to. It was his birthday. I had it all planned out. We're going to go to the movies. We're going to go to the pizza joint afterwards. And he comes home from school and he says, "These 2 girls wanted to come to the party. Can they come to the party?" And I said, "No." They'll ruin everything. We're just doing boys. And the next day, one of the little girls had the nerve to call me and ask if to invite herself and her friend to the party. And I said, "No." And then the next day, my son comes home from school and he asks again if these girls can come to the party. And he says these words, "But Mom, girls make things fun." And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He's learning too young.
Yeah, 10 years old. Yeah, he figured out girls make things more fun.
But, so I want to just say that really, women, wives, in your home, you set the tone. And keep the atmosphere of your house peaceful and joyful, happy. Be positive. Approach things from a positive manner. Like I said, greet your husband when he comes home. Another thing that I did was I didn't immediately meet him at the door with problems. Well, did you know that, the kids did this?
Yeah, the boys did this, or somebody did that, or, whatever.
Yeah. And also,
always gave me a second to catch my breath and a little bit of a break before we had to deal with any of the situations of the day.
Yes. And then also not to discuss...
or save it till bedtime. Is that
right? Literally, a true story. He had just laid his head on the pillow, and I bring up this this monumental decision that needed to be made, and he says, "Really? I was just going to sleep. Now I'm going to be thinking about this all night long." And I was like, oh, note to self, don't do that. So I'm sharing that with you. Don't do that. So that's part of keeping the joy in your house. Keep things light and pleasant, and for the whole family, for your kids and your husband.
Absolutely. Well, for all those who hung around, remember I promised you one more. This is the one that on our wedding day that someone admonished us to.
The minister did,
yeah,
before we even took our vows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I say admonish in a good point. Gave us this tip to basically to incorporate into our life, and we have done the best that we possibly can to make sure that happens. And it's to never go to bed angry. Ephesians 4:26 says, don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. And never. I mean, there's been times it's taken a while. We've had to stay up late and maybe not got all the sleep that we wanted to in order to at least come to a point where we could go to bed. And sometimes we had to. I don't like to use this in a marriage, but we had to agree to disagree for a few minutes until the next day, until we could come to terms on something. But yet, we've always got to the point where we've settled it before we try to go to sleep because we don't want to go to bed mad.
Right, and it has really served us well.
If you go to bed mad, you're going to wake up mad. That's
absolutely.
Just, sleep doesn't take away that. It doesn't solve that problem. I promise you.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And sleep is so important. If you don't get sleep, there's health and mental and emotional ramifications. Like I said earlier, just keep the joy in your life. This will help you get your solutions quickly. Mm-hmm. And even if you have to agree to disagree, that's fine too.
Yep. Well, we want to thank you for spending some time with us and taking the time to view the content, and hopefully it's bringing you some value and helping you out, in this case, in your marriage relationships. And this is Life and Times with Mike and Terry Day. Thank you guys for spending time with us. Hit the like and subscribe button if you will.